What's up, everyone? Welcome to Project Xtalk, episode 13, your weekly podcast all about Xbox. If you like that, make sure to subscribe to the channel, follow us on your favorite podcast service, and tell all your friends. My name's Kevin. I'm back for my short little break, and I'm joined by Tom, Aman, Garrett, and we have a special guest this week, Luke Lohr, otherwise known as Insipid Ghost, the host of EXP, the Xbox Expansion Pass podcast. It's one of the best Xbox podcasts out there. I'm going to let Luke tell you a little more about it before we begin, though. Luke?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. I hope you're all doing well. Certainly a tumultuous week, and it's nice to get back to talking about games for a bit of escapism. I do host the Xbox Expansion Pass, which is a weekly podcast available on all podcast services and newly now onto YouTube, where I discuss everything that goes on in the Gamerverse and how it pertains to the Xbox ecosystem. For example, long ago when they announced the DualSense, I would talk about how that would impact those people in the Xbox camp and whether or not that was relevant to them. I often have on guests as well from around the gaming industry, voice actors, producers, publishers, developers, to talk about their role in the gaming industry and really just to bring insight and education to people who are interested in just kind of the back end of things and how things go. So that's the Xbox Expansion Pass, and I would love it if anybody would check it out. But more importantly, I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you.
No, we appreciate you coming on. Like we were talking before the show, recently found your podcast a few weeks ago. Big fan, subscribe. So everyone, make sure you go drop a follow, a subscription on YouTube, whatever, and check out his stuff because it's really good. So before we get into the actual start of the show, I did want to give everyone a heads up that it's 2021. We promised new content for the channel, and new content is coming to the channel. We're going to have some more short form content, such as game reviews, some Let's Plays coming, reaction pieces. We started a Twitch channel. You can go follow us over on twitch.tv/Project Xtalk for when we stream over there. We will tweet out when we go live. I'm not sure how frequent Twitch will be. YouTube is going to be the main place right now. But if you are interested in more content, please go drop a follow over there as well. So new content's coming. Pretty excited. But we got a show to do. So I'm going to start off with the segment we introduced last week. I wasn't here for it, unfortunately. It's What You Playing, guys? And I think I'll start with Luke. Give our guest a chance to go first. And what games you playing?
Oh, that is a heavy question now. I've been playing quite a few things. I'm known to juggle many a game at a time. Right now, I am thoroughly enjoying a return to Watch Dogs Legion, which I think is now my game of the year for 2020. I really enjoyed that. I encountered a save bug that led me to put it down for a bit and enjoy other games. I recently also finished Immortals Phoenix Rising, which I enjoyed for its casual sense and bright colors and true escapism from, kind of the almost potentially real world of something like Watch Dogs. And then I main on some evergreen titles like Sea of Thieves. Recently got into Fortnite, which is funny. I saved that fight off for a long time, and I do enjoy playing that with friends. And also Call of Duty. So I really enjoy a lot of different games. I've got the Falconeer sitting on my to play list right now for an interview coming up in a few weeks. And I'm really just doing my best to celebrate and enjoy as many games as possible from 2020 because there was so much great content that came out despite all the issues of the year that I'm really enjoying a number of things. So Watch Dogs Legion, Immortals, and everything else under the sun.
Immortals is definitely a game that I want to check out when I get some time. I'm kind of working through some stuff, as I'll mention soon when in my my section. But Aman, what are you playing right now?
Oh, I just picked up Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order for the first time. Yeah, I've been enjoying that game a lot. The graphics are amazing, the visuals are amazing, the gameplay is amazing. I'm just enjoying it.
Sweet. Tom, what you got going on over there?
Right now, I'm playing a whole lot of Sea of Thieves. This is like the first time I've gotten really into it. I managed to get two of my friends. One, I got him on PC Gamepass, and my other friend just swapped over from PS4 to the Xbox. So we've been playing a lot of Sea of Thieves, and the game is actually so much fun, especially when you have a group of people to play with. I just can't say it. Dude, we've been doing so much quests, so much looting. a lot of just pirating. We just, any ship I see, you're an immediate target. I'm not friends with anybody.
You're that guy.
I'm that
You're
guy.
that
I'm
guy.
that guy.
Oh no. So my crew, we did the whole during the pandemic, we got together, we really explored Sea of Thieves. We went for Pirate Legend, and very rarely would we ever go hunting. We were the ones with the alliance flag up, and we meant it. We meant to be in an alliance.
Oh, wow.
So I wonder if in the big world of Sea of Thieves we've ever crossed paths and crossed cannons. That'd be a cool thing if we could ever find that out. That's awesome, man. I love Sea of Thieves. Great choice.
Is that that you said it was on PC? So it's crossplay between PC and Xbox.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah. But
I know
there is
Garrett,
things that you
you
got to
love it.
look out when you do the crossplay, right? Because like they could still do the double shot, so technically they'll be better on PvP interactions. That's why there is that whole Xbox only feature. But
Wow.
yeah, back to what I was going to be playing. I was sort of just waiting for Outriders when it's coming out, but it got pushed back like another month. So like I'm probably going to be switching back to C. Like
Yeah.
it's been a while. Like I could dust off my PL and start doing some cool stuff, and I could drop like Athena's and the Gilded Quest for them, which is like it's another level. You're more targeted because you're hauling a lot more loot. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Outriders, I think got pushed to April, right?
yeah, it got
By the
pushed
way,
from
Garrett,
February 25th
I'm leading
to
by
April.
300 gamer score so far.
Dude, my work schedule is nuts. You're gonna win this month, but I beat you by like 1,000 last month, so there you could take that.
All right, I'll finish off the what you've been playing section. Well, Tom and Garrett are trying to get me to play Sea of Thieves with them. I do have a download. I think we'll play some of that and maybe do a let's play for the channel coming up while they introduce me to the game, because I've played it for maybe an hour when it launched, like day one when it came out years ago. I don't know anything about it since then. So you guys want to do some things and mess with me, I'm all for it. In terms of games I've been playing, I'm currently working through Dragon Quest XI on Gamepass. I'm about 20-ish hours into it. I'll probably do a review of the game for the channel. I like it. It's not blowing me away. The way people talk about it, I expected a little more. Maybe I just haven't got to the point where it's like, oh my God, like this is an amazing JRPG. But I'm liking it. It's good. I'm going to keep working through it. I tried Code Vein on Game Pass, and that was probably a mistake because I don't like Souls games. But I saw it had co-op, so me and my friends were gonna co-op it, and we've dropped it. It's not for me. I cannot take Souls combat. I just don't like dying so much, and I feel like I'm just cowering in fear the whole time. So everyone can tell me to get good, but I'm gonna stick to some better games for me. Multiplayer wise, I've been playing some Master Chief Collection here and there. Really enjoying that. I had got my buddy to play it with me, who's on the original Xbox. We were having a lot of fun with it the other night, so that was really good. And then other than that, I'm working through God of War. I know it's not an Xbox game, but I am playing God of War right now. It's really good. I haven't had a PlayStation since PlayStation 2, and I'm absolutely loving God of War. So I'm pumped about that. And then I have a few more trophies for Sackboy Platinum. So lots of gaming going on during the pandemic and while I'm stuck at home. Lots of good stuff. And we'll get that Sea of Thieves going this weekend, I think, guys. But everyone's playing games. We'll move into our news roundup. Here's the meat of the show. And we're going to start with our first story. Blooper Team talking about the Medium ahead of its January 28th release date. I'm pulling from Alessio Palumbo over at WCCFtech.com. They had a chance to interview the game producer about the Medium. In the interview, they discuss how the game is first and foremost a narrative horror game, and they've built on their previous works, including Observer, Layers of Fear, and Blair Witch, to allow them to enhance their storytelling technique and create a more cohesive narrative experience for the players. Something that's unique to the Medium is the use of the dual reality feature. I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer that I posted in our chat, where they have the split screen kind of where you're acting in two different worlds at the same time. That has obviously been the driving point for this game. There are some action combat sequences that revolve around the main character's powers. But they said expect it to play closer to Amnesia than Resident Evil. So people expecting a action horror game are probably going to be a little disappointed. There's ray tracing to some certain extent, or I'm not sure what that will be on the Series X. And it's also an exclusive for the Series X. It's not coming to last gen, just this gen. I'm gonna stop right there. What's your guys' hype level for the medium? Tom?
5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. I'm on. Wow.
Like, it's something I'm gonna pick up, but like I'm not overly hyped for it. I'm gonna check it out, gonna download it, see how it plays.
Oof.
Yeah.
Hurting my heart hearing that.
So I play a lot of horror games like Layers of Fear. I played the old Amnesia games back in the day. So I don't really I'm not overly hyped for these kind of games because they're generally kind of short experiences. But
yeah,
I'm excited to try my first official, Series X exclusive. That's the biggest one so far coming out. So I'm definitely excited for that at least.
Tend to fall in that camp as well. I don't have any particular love for Bloober Team. By the same token, I would never deny their ability. I really enjoyed Blair Witch. Surprisingly, it was not a game that I was interested in, played it on Game Pass, and absolutely loved it. It was a great experience. I talked about it on XEP last week that this is a game that Game Pass is bringing me to, as opposed to one that I would ever seek out. It's not a game I would go buy. It's not a game that I'd be interested or following. But because I can get it into Game Pass, try it out, to Tom's point, see the first, theoretically the first Series X exclusive, and know what it is they're trying to do and why was it so special that it couldn't be on Xbox One. I'm interested to follow that side of things and see it for myself. I recently upgraded to an OLED TV.
Oh, nice.
I had to sell a kidney or two.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But I'm finding that even games that I was playing on my previous 4K TV, it just didn't look the same. It just wasn't the same. And I was like, wow, now it looks next gen. This will be another opportunity to see something that's truly meant to be next gen. And I want to know what it is that's so special about it. So the fact that it's day and date into Game Pass is fantastic because I think more people will get to experience what it is trying to offer. And more interestingly, how are they planning to differentiate it from the Xbox One catalog? Is this something that will only show up if you're on a Series S or X in Game Pass? Will you be able to see it from your Xbox One, but it's going to have a warning label? I want to know how they're going to handle that messaging, because prior to this, we've seen how they handle backward compatibility and forward compatibility in cross-gen sets of titles. This will be one that locks out a consumer base, and I'm interested to see how they manage that.
That is a great point, mainly because it's already displayed on Game Pass. I already have it pre-installed on my Series X, and I've seen people talk about on their base Xbox One or Xbox One X that they can see the game in Game Pass, but it won't let them do anything. So if this is going to be, I know Xbox made a point to say that they weren't going to split the console base, but there are going. This is the first example. There are going to be games that the Xbox One cannot run. We need a way to differentiate, as you said, between the titles and not show them something that they can't have. That's kind of like a slap in the face to them. Like, hey, look at this great title that you can never play.
To me, I think showing it is beneficial to Microsoft. Like, hey, look at this sneak new game that you guys can't play on your old Xbox One. Time to upgrade.
Yeah, free marketing really, and it just requires less work.
So do you
Put,
think
like, a
in
little thing in there
3-4
on the
years
Xbox
down the
Series
line?
X.
What was that, Aman? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Do you guys think around 3 or 4 years down the line, we'll get a separate section, like a separate Game Pass for Xbox One users, like how we have Xbox Game Pass for PC, or we can have one for Xbox Game Pass for Xbox One, which for games like Fable might not be on Xbox One, Avowed might not be on Xbox One. So how do you think they're going to handle that?
I don't think so personally, just because I think the majority of games will still be cross-gen available on both. Because if you look at their large cat, like their 300 whatever games right now, you can play those on the Xbox One. So just locking all those out into a separate thing would be a little bit much, I think.
Yeah,
Well, I think it's. I don't. I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead, bud.
I was gonna say and right now you already can filter it based on consoles, so I don't think it's really a big issue.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see how they market it in terms of cover titles. Will they use at one point they were using that big optimized for Series S and X logo, which I liked, but it was too big and overused and clouded some of the messaging. And right now they're doing it's like just white lettering X or S. You know, if it's optimized, I would imagine we see something akin to that, and then like a slight modification to that, just so that it's like XS required or something in that vein.
I have another question regarding the medium, but I want to know, Garrett, is this a game you're going to play? I don't know. You're a multiplayer guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be playing it because it's on Game Pass. Like I watched the video, it's very atmospheric. I was a little disappointed how they didn't have like any true action, so we had a vision. Because I read a few interviews about it, and like they said that there was going to be some fighting interaction, and it was just it sort of seemed like a stealth game without the stealth cone. Did you guys watch the gameplay where the whole like ghost thing that you couldn't really see because they didn't go into the other red place, I'll just call it for now. But yeah, like they hit it and then like she was right there. There was no chase scene. Like, so like that I'm a little mixed up about, but I'll play it because it's on Game Pass. I'll give it a solid few hours. Why not?
So yeah, so the game is a short experience. It's like 8 to 10 hours, I think they said. I'm definitely getting it. It's already pre-installed, as I said. My main thing for this game is I have watched the trailer multiple times. Like you said, I'm a little disappointed as well that they didn't show any of the combat that they were talking about. Am I going to be able to, like control, like fling stuff with my powers? Am I going to be able to shoot some blasts? Because she seems to be able to absorb energy in her arm or something. So I'm not really sure what the combat is.
Yeah, like the only thing that maybe we could relate to combat was her little ball thing to keep the beetles or the things away.
When she went in that tunnel, So speaking of the yes, if we want to break down the trailer, it obviously starts with her staring at a shoe and hearing a bunch of screams for what I think is way too long. It's like 30 seconds of the trailer. It's just her hearing screams of looking at a shoe, and I'm just like, can we get? But after that, I thought the trailer was really good. I like the way it looks. I think the game looks really good. Obviously, we're watching a compressed video, so it's a little, take that with a grain of salt. You always want to temper your expectations when you're watching stuff through a compressed video on YouTube. But I thought it looked good. Obviously, it's not finalized yet. It had that little disclaimer down the bottom. I'm excited to know what the ray tracing elements are. Is this game going to look even better? Because that would be great. Even if it's 4K 30 with ray tracing, I'll take that. Like, that would be phenomenal for me, because this isn't a game where you really need 60 FPS. This is a game that I'm likening to Until Dawn or Man of Medan, which are games that I just beat Until Dawn last week. I played through Man of Medan, and my main thing with those games was you walk so slow. I hate walking so slow and having to look at things. So I'm so glad that this did not look like it was slow, but it wasn't like snail pace. I can run to a certain extent, and then we had that chase sequence, if you want to call it that, where she had to sprint away from the monster and then hide. So there's definitely better movement in this game, from what I can tell. You guys have any?
I was thinking this game. I think this game is going to be something similar to Hellblade. In terms of the pacing of the game and how the combat might work. Since Hellblade has a few action sequences spread out between the game, and most of them are the same thing. And I don't think combat is the main focus for the developers. I think it's more about the narrative, similar to Hellblade. So I think the pacing of the game might be similar to that.
Okay, that's fine with me. If we get another Hellblade, I am all for that. That game is phenomenal. As you know, I said it was the best game of last gen for me personally on the Xbox. So medium, everyone, a little mixed bag, but we're all going to check it out. I'm excited to dive into it in a few weeks and get more of an in-depth review on that going for the channel. So we'll move on to story number 2. And I want to ask you guys a question. Would you guys like haptic feedback in the Xbox controller. Luke, I'm gonna start with you.
I know where this is coming from, and I saw the reports of the Microsoft poll that they put out asking if people were familiar with the features of the DualSense and if they'd be interested in having it on an Xbox. I'm curious, how many of the panel have you guys all used a DualSense before?
Yep.
Yeah, I have a PlayStation 5.
Yeah. Okay. So I was unfortunately very underwhelmed by it due to, in large part, too many people hyping it up for me, right? I found the DualSense to be an absolute joy when I played Astro's Playroom. Thought that was a wonderful, very fun thing that I really took to heart. It was the best Mario game ever made, and it's not a Mario game, you know. That said, the game that I bought my PS5 for was Miles Morales, and I adore Miles Morales, both as a character and a game. But I couldn't tell you one time where I remember the DualSense impacting me. In fact, I would have much preferred my uneven sticks. You know, the parallel sticks don't really. That isn't my personal preference. The DualSense is, I think, one of the best controllers ever made, easily. But I did not feel like its haptic feedback really defined my time in using it. It wasn't special to me. It feels well made, but I didn't lose my mind over it. I think of the DualShock 4, that the touchpad, very gimmicky. I'm not a fan of that in any way. I thought it was very poorly used. The DualSense seems to be doing well. If more games that are third party take advantage of it, then to answer your question as I round back, then I would love to see Microsoft investigate it. Right now, I do not think it's likely that we see anything in the next 3 to 4 years using that, and that's a long time. And I defend that answer by saying we have the Elite 2 controller, which uses back paddles, which to me is the real game changer of a controller interface. Love back paddles. Really disappointed that the DualSense didn't have that, because I just love the ability to use triggers. And they teased us with that DualShock 4 button on the back. But the reason I'm so adamant that I don't think they'll do it for a while is Microsoft's big goal is to reach 2 billion screens. And they plan on doing that not via hardware, but via programs like PC, more importantly, via xCloud. And getting a super high-tech controller out that works on multiple screens for xCloud is expensive and very difficult. So I don't think Razer would be interested in making the Razer Kishi 2 that has tons of technology in there for a controller that's already $100. I don't see us taking advantage of that. I think instead they would prefer to be cost effective and get to screens in a way that removes hardware barriers. So am I interested in it? Not really. I'm also not against it by any means. Like, cool if they do it. But I want to note that I think the Series X controller is wonderful. The DualSense is wonderful, and they both the apex of their designs. They just do different things.
Yeah. Aman, what's your feelings
I
on
absolutely
this?
agree with you there. Yeah, I absolutely agree with Luke there. What he said absolutely makes sense. On my thoughts on the DualSense, yeah, it was cool when I played Astro, but would I really want it in every game I play? No, I would want it in like games like, for example, if it does come to Xbox, games like Forza, maybe Psychonauts. But would I really want the DualSense while I'm playing Halo? I don't think that would suit me. That's my opinion, though. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it. It was definitely overhyped. It was good. It worked well with games like, Astro. Worked pretty well with Bugsnax, I think. So yeah.
Tom?
So Astro was good with the haptic feedback on the PS5 DualSense, but the reason that I love haptic feedback on the Nintendo Switch, there's so many games that utilize haptic feedback so well, like Super Mario Odyssey. It does enhance the experience a whole lot. It's just on the PS5 front, there's not really a lot of games that utilize it to its fullest extent yet. I really do want a controller that has haptic feedback. They shouldn't even if it's like an Elite Series 3, they don't have to make it a baseline controller. I'm fine with that, because whatever, I don't care. It should be more of a premium feature anyways, but I'm not against it. I'm for it. The only thing I don't need from that controller is like the triggers. I felt like the trigger thing was like real gimmicky, anyways. But definitely haptic feedback is definitely like a next gen feature that we need to have.
Yeah.
Question. I have a question for you, Tom. You dig the Switch controller with Odyssey and whatnot. Do you think the experiences that you had with HD Rumble justified the cost of the Joy-Cons? Because I've heard mixed responses on that. What do you think?
Those things are so expensive, man. But yeah, I would. It justifies it. I have 2 sets of Joy Cons, and I use them for everything, like Mario Party especially, and it feels so nice. The haptic feedback does feel like really premium, and I think it justifies it.
That's interesting to me as someone that also has a Switch, and I immediately dropped the Joy-Cons. I hate Joy-Cons. I think they are a terrible, terrible way to play games. I immediately picked up a Pro controller. That's the only comfortable way I can play on that console. Playing in handheld actually is so painful. I don't know who they put this in the hands of and was like, this feels good to play handheld. That's why I'm hoping Switch Pro is a real thing and it's just like a docked console 100% of the time. But I'm gonna leave my Nintendo feelings out of this. I love Nintendo. I just want to play Super Smash Brothers in 4K. But in terms of the Xbox controller, as someone that has a PlayStation 5, uses it almost daily, I think we're going over the same point. Astro was phenomenal. The controller really enhanced the experience there, except I hate the motion control where you have to air in the ball. I hate doing that with the DualSense. The Sackboy is another game that I think really uses the DualSense features well, but I still don't think that the Xbox needs this. I'm never playing my Xbox. I was like, it would really make this experience better, haptic feedback. And I know Aman mentioned, or Tom, I forget which one of you were talking about the trigger. I think it was you, Tom. The triggers. I know people are getting frustrated in that Call of Duty. It's a cool thing to press down and like feel the kickback from the gun, but it's not the most competitively viable thing. Like if you're actually trying to play the game, that kickback is going to mess up your aim. It's not going to help your gameplay. It feels cool, but ultimately in terms of usefulness, it's not great in my opinion. I do like it in games, as Aman was saying, platformers, Sackboy. When you pick things up, you feel the resistance because you have to hold down the trigger. That's a great feature. I would like that in certain games, but I'm not like dying for it on the Xbox. So in my opinion, as Luke was saying, I don't think we see this anytime soon. If we get a mid-gen refresh this generation, which is still up in the air, then maybe it's something that they add to that console's controller to make it, different, give people a reason to upgrade mid-generation. But I don't think it's something that is coming anytime soon, and I don't think the majority of people that have used both would say that it's something that's needed. So speaking of controllers, this is something I saw today, guys. Now I'm going to ask, do you know why the Xbox controller still comes with batteries? Because people online were saying it's because of a deal with Duracell, which, as Tom Phillips over at Eurogamer tells me, is not the case. It was something that has been taken from the Duracell UK's marketing manager that said in an interview that there's always been a partnership, there's going to be a partnership. People got really into the weeds digging into this comment and was like, this is why they won't give us rechargeable battery packs. Does this upset you guys that you have AA batteries as an option on the Xbox? Luke,
I think this story is ridiculous personally. Just because I always thought it was just because my buddies who have a PlayStation, after you plug it and unplug it 100 times, it doesn't barely have a charge anymore. It's not nice to be built in, right? So the option about it is great. And didn't Xbox have the little built-in thing? Or not built in, but you could buy it as a little separate thing and just slide it in. I don't know, I'm just a AA guy. But some people have the little thing that just slides in its case. And it's
you are a AA guy. Wow.
Yeah.
No one's perfect, man. Don't beat yourself up.
Oh God, I walked into that one. I should not sleep before the shows. Rough.
What's your feelings on this, Luke?
Wrong mouse. Sorry. It surprised me because I was under the impression that there was a deal with Duracell at one point. I did not read the article, or I've not had a chance to read the article at the time of this recording. I don't know if it references that there was a deal in place at one point. My understanding is that there was in previous years. I don't know if that expired or if maybe I was just misinformed. That said, I find battery option to be kind of obnoxious. I would have much preferred it be charging. I find batteries to be very environmentally wasteful and a bad habit. I much prefer charge packs for convenience sake. I did purchase the Series SX charge pack for my blue controller. I got the Sonic blue controller just in case we bought Sega. You never know. But I got the charge pack because I dig it. And I have an Elite controller as my secondary. Prior to that on Xbox One, I was using third-party charging stands. I do not like the idea that my batteries could run out and I don't have batteries ready to go. So that is the core thing for me, and that was one of the things I liked about the DualShock 4. It may not have lasted long, but the ability to just plug it in and charge meant that I didn't have to go purchase batteries. I felt it to be more cost-effective down the line. That was my thought.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was a little disappointed that they didn't switch to a rechargeable battery, even though for me it's not that big of a deal because I have the Xbox One low battery pack that you can put in. If you get the one that clips on, I don't believe it works with this controller just because of the size, but you have the one that goes in the controller. That one works, and that one's rechargeable with the Series X controller. So for me, it hasn't been a switch. I haven't bought batteries in a decade now because I've been saving money with my rechargeable battery pack. So for me, I would just like us to see everything go rechargeable, but I understand people like their options. I don't think Microsoft is intentionally being like, oh no, we can't do it because Duracell's paying us a buttload of money. Like they're putting 2 AA batteries in one console every 8 years. Like it's not that many batteries. It's not that much money. Like it just can't be that much money. Tom, Aman, what do you guys feel about batteries?
Okay, I'll go. So, I don't really use batteries. I use the rechargeable as well. I think it's ridiculous that the controller doesn't come with a rechargeable battery pack, even if it's removable. The fact that either you have to go out and buy rechargeable batteries or drop $25 on top of the $60 controller to get the official Series X rechargeable battery, that's ridiculous. When you think that all the features that the PS5 controller has, that controller is only $10 more than the Series X, and it has a rechargeable batteries and way more premium features. I feel like we're being juked on this one, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Tom. Xbox should have given us the rechargeable battery pack with the console. Spending $25 to $30 more on it doesn't make sense. Actually makes it more expensive than the DualSense. So yeah, I like that Xbox have the AA option, but I would have preferred it if they just gave us the rechargeable battery pack with the console itself.
In terms of the controller, I don't know why people are getting upset about the batteries. The thing that we needed was a cable. They didn't put a USB-A to C.
Yes, they didn't put a cable.
Why is there not a cable in the box? I have to use my PlayStation one.
Yeah.
That's just a little rant for me, but we'll move on to story number 3. I forget what number we're on. But Arcane Studios is working with Dishonored Co-creator on a new game. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Arcane Studios is one of the studios that Microsoft will be getting with the Bethesda acquisition when that finalizes later this year. He was at Arcane Lyon in France, but is in Arcane Austin now, working with the guys that made Dishonored and Prey. He said in an interview that he's not working on Deathloop. He's working on a new game over there. We don't have much details about it. I just thought it was exciting news that I don't know if you guys have played Dishonored. highly recommend it. If you like those types of games, it's everything I've heard is a great game. I know my brother is a big fan of those titles, but it's just exciting that we have some pedigree coming with a good studio. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything on that. If not, I'll move on to our next story. Okay.
Kane's
It's
great.
interesting, he could be working on Dishonored. He could be working on Dishonored 3 or Prey 2, or bring back the original Prey from 2006, which actually I preferred from the Prey reboot since it was about space bounty hunting, and I kind of like that. I hope it's a new IP. I think Dishonored 3 can be done some other time. I really want to see a new IP from Arcane. I think they're great at making games. Their storytelling and their level design is absolutely amazing. And if they do make a new IP, I'm down for it. And if they do bring back Dishonored 3 or Prey 2, I wouldn't mind it.
Okay. Time for some Minecraft news. I know our resident Minecraft fan over there, Garrett, will be maybe a little disappointed. I don't know if he plays this, but pulling from Tom Warren over at The Verge, Microsoft is officially shutting down Minecraft Earth on June 30th. The mobile game is shutting down due to the ongoing pandemic, according to the Minecraft team. They say that they have made the difficult decision to reallocate resources to other areas of the community. You'll no longer be able to download or play the game as of June 30th. The player data is being deleted on July 1st. Players can no longer purchase items, and any balance that they have will be converted to mine coins to buy in the general Minecraft marketplace, which I did not know was a thing. Has anyone played Minecraft Earth? Does anyone care?
I played it for all of like 20 minutes. It's Pokemon Go with Minecraft. Like you could go to like little spots and you could put up like a bronze dungeon, I think it was when I was playing it, and like a little thing would come up where you could go through your AR camera and it would be like just a little thing, like a 10 by 10 block area, and you go through there and look for a chest, and then you could just add it to your inventory, right? But with things that are happening in the world right now, I could fully expect that AR games and going around and walking around and socializing, that whole department's probably taking a hit. So
I got to play that game at a behind closed doors at 2019, and it was super impressive tech. It was really neat to see. But like you said, it's AR games are suffering greatly, and I don't know that Minecraft Earth in general had the following, or even the people that knew about it, to survive, even if there was no pandemic amidst our daily lives. So the tech was really cool, and it seemed to be an extension of what they were trying to do with HoloLens and a lot of kind of cool side projects, but I don't think it was ever destined for greatness. And I think Pokemon Go is essentially a one-off in that category. Geocaching games have always existed, but this one feels special. And Minecraft Earth probably had the best shot of any of them to latch into that Minecraft zeitgeist, and it just didn't. Fell flat.
Yeah, I totally forgot this was a thing. I remember seeing it in 2019 when they showed it off, and I've never thought about it since then. Certainly have never played it. I played Pokemon Go, which I imagine is not making the revenue this year that it has in previous years. Tom, Amon, did either of you ever play Minecraft World? What was it called?
Minecraft Earth.
Or,
yeah, I played it. I mean, it was okay. Pretty much uses the same exact nodes that Pokemon Go uses. Honestly, not a lot of people played around this area anyway, so I never found anyone even playing Pokemon Go or Earth anywhere. I'm usually alone at those nodes. It's a stupid game. I mean, if I want to, at least with Pokemon, you're going around and like catching Pokemon, and that feels like more authentic and cool. But in Minecraft Earth, like, I mean, if I want to dig and build, like, I'm just gonna play Minecraft. You know.
You do have a point there.
Fair point. So we'll end the news roundup with the final story. It's just a quick rundown of the first games coming to Game Pass for 2021 that have been announced. We have PES or PES 2021, Injustice 2, The Little Acre, Neoverse, Torchlight 3, What Remains of Edith Finch, and YIIK, a postmodern RPG. I imagine Injustice is getting on there because Tekken is leaving and they want another big fighting game. That's my only thoughts on that lineup. Not very
They have
overwhelming.
Marvel versus Capcom though, so that's my favorite out of all of them.
It's not very well received in the fighting game community though.
Oh no, only the second one. The third and moving on from that, they're all bad.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's not the best choices. So that'll do it for the news roundup this week. We're gonna get into the rumor roundup. Our first rumor was going around the other day. Xbox has filed a trademark for Xbox Series XS, sparking speculation that a smaller version of the Series X could be coming. Does anyone have thoughts on what this trademark could be? Or is this people overreacting and the trademark simply doesn't have the slash for XS like I imagine it is? Aman, you want to give us some thoughts?
Yeah, I think people are just overreacting. I think it's just the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S. If it isn't, it's probably a digital-only Xbox Series X. And yeah, that's all I have about that.
It's fair. I have the same thought.
What he said. Yeah. What he
Summed
said.
it up pretty
like
well.
I said,
Like the only variance that I'd give to that is like maybe it is a slightly upgraded one that they're going to release in 2 or 3 years, and they're going to call that the XS because it's just going to be an upgraded X with no disk drive to save some money, so that they could put it at the same price with better components. But yeah, other than that, no, nothing big.
Yeah, I imagine it's just people overreacting. I don't know if they would file a trademark so soon for a new console, if they're even going to do a new console. So we'll go on to the second rumor, which is actually a list of rumors that was going around Twitter, Reddit. It was from Xboxworlds, which I don't know how reliable that source is, but we're going to have some fun here, and we're going to go through their little list for our rumor roundup. The first one I think we've touched on before is inXile is working on a new steampunk AAA RPG. Supposedly had the highest budget or second highest budget for an Xbox game in development. I think this rumor kind of got some credibility yesterday when inXile posted some job listings for a new FPS RPG.
FPS RPG.
Yeah. So this one seems pretty credible. From what I can tell, I am sure they're working on a new RPG. From whether it's steampunk or not, I think we had some discussion on that in a previous episode. The next one is Obsidian is developing 6 projects, including 3 AAA RPGs. Do you guys think they can do 6 games?
You can already count it, See, Avowed, Outer Worlds 2, and one probably we might not see for quite some time.
There's
Those
3
are
RPGs.
3 AAAs.
Yeah. Well, they're working on Grounded. Do we consider that AAA?
I think Grounded will be AAA.
Yeah, I think it will be
later on. I think it's shot. Well, I had Adam Brennicky on XEP several months ago when they hit 1 million like out of the gate in early access, and it was around that time I had him on, and he was surprised by the state of the game versus its reception, which was very positive. He's like, this is very early access. I think that could be what somebody is inferring to be a AAA, not in terms of resources and team size, but in terms of reception by gamers. And then Avowed and Outer Worlds 2 probably therein also. Obsidian and inXile to me are really interesting studios because Microsoft has fostered this idea of multiple teams within a studio and go make what you want. Ninja Theory is a great example. You make Hellblade 2, sweet. Oh, you're doing Project Mara, cool. You want to make Bleeding Edge? All right, cool. Go for it. And that's such a good example, I think, though, because it makes me chuckle every time because Bleeding Edge really did fall flat.
Yeah.
The developers wanted to make it. And when you foster creativity and allow it, when you let your 12-person team go make Grounded about a person in a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids world, that sounds dumb. It just sounds dumb. When you play it, it's really fun if you like those kind of games. And I'm like, all right, this is basically State of Decay, but with bugs and more building. Okay, neat. Like, something that Microsoft has really done is push these studios to make what they want to make. And that's why they're so enticing. They're not dictating their new welcome open arms studios to make a certain thing. Nobody said you have to go make Doom 3, right? But to the rumor aspect, the one part that caught me off guard from the previous story is In Exile, historically smaller budgeted games by comparison to something like Avowed, getting the second highest budget. No way that's true next to Perfect Dark, next to Halo Infinite, which for God's sake at this point is very expensive, and next to Avowed, which go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's all that I was really gonna say was I'm wondering what budget they mean because I'm actually on their game list right now. Halo Infinite's budget is 500 million. Do you want to know what they're now? Do you guys remember Two Human?
Oh God, unfortunately.
Yeah,
The
I'm going
Xbox
down the
360
list.
title.
Yeah, that's the only other one that's on the list for 71 to 119 million dollars accounting for inflation. So that is a huge gap that I think that's just too vague for the rumor thing. Like,
And the 500
yeah, they're
million,
working
we don't
steampunk.
know if that includes marketing. We don't know if it includes tie into the Showtime show. We don't know how the money's being allocated. We sure as mess saw a number of like soda cans and pop figures and mega constructs, Halo Infinite stuff. I've got a ton of them all over my room because I was stoked for that game. So we don't know what the budget of something means, and that vagary is, I think, very frustrating on the consumer side to wonder. I don't like wondering.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point.
See, I do think In Exile are working on a big game. I don't think it's the second highest, the game with the second highest budget, but I do think they're working on a big game since now they actually have full financial backing to work on a big AAA game. Like since before they didn't really have the financial backing needed to make a big open world AAA first person game, which they always wanted to make, and now they do. And I think Brian Fargo is trying to pursue that.
I don't know if Microsoft looks at what they've done. Obviously, they like what they've done enough to buy them, and they probably believe in the studio, but I don't know if they believe in them enough to give them the second highest budget.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
but
I think they're working on a new game. I don't think they have quite as much money as the rumor is kind of suggesting.
Yeah, probably.
This next rumor is super vague. It literally just says Xbox has secured publishing rights for a big AAA surprise that will launch in 2021. Like, that's the vaguest rumor ever. Like, there's a game coming out in 2021. Great, obviously.
Ooh.
This one I think we've talked about before. I know for a fact we've had Phil Spencer mention that he wants to do it, and its xCloud will be joining several new markets next year, including iOS and Samsung TVs. I think this is pretty accurate. I think it'll probably happen this year. Certainly iOS is coming soon. Pretty sure they said at the end of 2020. And as we've discussed, TVs is the next big market for them. They want to hit as many screens as possible. Yeah. So the next one is several additional titles will be launching exclusively to Xbox next year with Forza Horizon 5, Starfield, and Wolfenstein 3. Forza Horizon 5, I know that's a title Jeff Grubb said could be launching soon. I believe it was Jeff Grubb a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Starfield is one that Phil Spencer just keeps name dropping in every single interview. We still have to figure out what has happening with Bethesda games, but I think that one could be accurate. And I don't know anything about Wolfenstein 3. I have not heard anything. Have you guys maybe got more ears to the ground than me on this again with this one? But
it's been in development for around 3 years now, so it could possibly come out this year or early next year.
Didn't they
But
just
don't
release?
if yeah, that was Young Blood, but you know, not the full team, not the full team of Machine Games was working on that game. I think it was separate team, and the rest of them were working on Wolfenstein 3 because that was. I think one of the developers did say quite a long time ago that they are working on the next chapter of Wolfenstein. So I hope that was not Wolfenstein Youngblood. So yeah, I think Starfield is dropping this year, definitely.
I'm curious about Starfield. That we know absolutely nothing about that game outside of like executives name dropping it, right? But we've not seen gameplay, no trailer. I don't think there's even a concept trailer out. We know more about Titanfall 3 than we do Starfield, and that makes me very sad. And so I if it's coming out this year, great, cool. That's why they bought Bethesda. At least it's one of the reasons. But I also know that Bethesda does not have a good track record of releasing games in a playable state, particularly in the past few years in terms of RPGs. And with all the backlash we've seen from games releasing in bug states, I would have to think that they're taking a good hard look at whether or not what they're going to put out is manageable for 2021 realistically. I think Cyberpunk checked a lot of people's expectations and probably made a lot of publishers bullish on putting out an incomplete product.
Yeah, I agree with that. In terms, I think Starfield's probably coming out just because they keep dropping it and it's been in development a while. The only thing we know
it was
is
in
that
development 2 years before it was announced, so you could say it was in development since 2016. So it's nearly hitting the 4-year mark.
4 years. That's crazy. That is a long RPG. I mean, I guess Halo Infinite's going on 6 come release. So we'll see. I'm hopeful. I don't know anything about the other two. Those aren't games that I will play. The other rumor is the one we touched on last week. I wasn't here. You guys covered it with Dirt and 3-Bit. Uplay is coming to Xbox Game Pass, just like EA Play did for this holiday. I don't think we need to rehash what we talked about or what you guys talked about last week. The next one, long rumored, Xbox going to be dropping Xbox Live Gold and rolling it into the Game Pass service. Free to play games will not require any subscription. This is one that obviously tons of people in the community want, and I would be glad to see this happen. It's kind of, I mean, what's really the difference if you pay for Game Pass Ultimate? It's included anyway, so I don't really see if they drop it. It's just to get a Game Pass in there.
I think they would have done it by now. If they really wanted to get rid of Xbox Live Gold, the best shot would have been to do it with like the Series X launch and S launch. At this point, it's there to stay, and it adds extra value to Xbox like Game Pass Ultimate. So I feel like that'll let them justify that $15 price tag a little bit more than just having the free games on there. So definitely, I don't think that rumor has any legs. And I believe they even said recently they had no plan on even changing it. So, yeah.
Well, what I think they're waiting for a certain subscription mark on Game Pass. So they might be like, oh, when Game Pass hits 30 million, we're going to cancel Xbox Live Gold. Because, Xbox Live Gold still has around 40 to 50 million people subscribe to it. So they're waiting for that transition for the Xbox Live Gold people to move to Xbox Game Pass. And then when most of them have, they will cut that service off. That's what I think.
I think games with gold needs to go away. Xbox Live Gold does not. I think Xbox Live Gold, to Tom's point, it's here. It's here. They would have done it by now if it was going to go away. But games with gold, I think, is not doing them any favors any longer. I don't think it's hurting them, but it certainly has not been impressive by comparison to its PlayStation counterpart on the PS Plus. However, that's kind of a silly point in a world of Game Pass, and that's kind of the big thing for me. I don't even think about my games with gold anymore. I don't even think about it. I'm just Game Pass. Is it there? Is it not? And so I would like them to. I don't need them to get rid of it to make me happy, but I think it's silly to pretend that games with gold is a selling point. Because it was created in response to PS Plus during the Xbox One era when the Xbox One was doing terribly. The Xbox One recovered really well for last gen and landed a pretty strong install base that may not be about units sold in terms of consoles, but the engagement numbers are just off the charts. And so games with gold, I don't think really helps that. Xbox Live Gold does help that. And I think that's the big difference.
I honestly forget games with gold is a thing most months. I don't know the last time I looked at the titles by myself. Like, oh, what's my games with gold? Like, who is actively looking to pick up those titles? I don't think anybody thinks about it anymore. So that's a service that could probably just be eliminated, like you said. Well, next rumor: all non-MMO Bethesda/ZeniMax titles will be exclusive starting in 2021. It's been debated to death by us, by every other podcast on the internet. We don't know.
Of course, Bethesda had to rear its ugly head here again.
We don't know. We're not going to know until the deal is done and they say something. So we just have to wait. This one would make Luke very happy. It would put his controller to good use. Xbox is swinging big and acquiring Sega in 2021. So he could get some use out of that Sonic controller.
I don't know. I have no clue if that's a real thing, and I don't care one way or the other. The real value in acquiring Sega is always going to be Atlas, as Sonic's not a big deal.
Persona.
Persona. Yeah, they don't have any JRPGs of note that are exclusive to their catalog or even really in their catalog, compared to their Japanese counterparts in Sony and Nintendo. So I think that's the value there. But who cares? Like, what? It's so funny when you hear the Sega rumor continue to percolate. But I do love that blue controller, and it is funny to think about.
I'd be thrilled if they bought Sega. Not for Sonic. I haven't played a Sonic game in probably a decade since they were not even good. I wouldn't say good. I think Sonic Heroes, the one where you were the three-person team, was the last one I actually enjoyed. They've fallen. They might be the gaming franchise that's fallen down the most since it came out. But Atlas, huge. Persona, huge. Shin Megami Tensei would be huge for Xbox. Really.
Also
Yakuza, yep, definitely Yakuza. But they've already kind of got Yakuza wrapped up. They have all the games on Game Pass. Like a Dragon is doing well. They had exclusivity for the next gen version. So they already have some sort of deal in place with Sega for Yakuza. This is
why I think something's going on with Microsoft and Sega. It's either Microsoft trying to bring Persona games to Game Pass, or Microsoft is trying to make a deal with Sega to get all their games day one on Game Pass, or Microsoft trying to acquire Sega. So, because since we've seen a lot of this, we've seen all the Yakuza games come to Game Pass. Now, we've seen actually something similar happen with Bethesda games, right? Like sometime before the Bethesda acquisition, we got Dishonored 2, we got Fallout 76, we got Fallout 4 as well at one point. So yeah, it could happen. If it does, good. If it doesn't, don't really care.
Yeah, and Phantasy Star 2, they locked up the exclusivity for Phantasy Star Online 2 for a while before it came to PC. It's still not on PlayStation in the West anyway. Obviously over in Japan, I think it's on everything. But they have a good relationship with Sega right now. I don't think they need to buy them to continue that. But listen, if they want to give everyone Sonic, whatever the next Sonic title is, day one on Game Pass, great. Cool.
They just need to get Persona on Game Pass. That's all I'm hoping for. I want Persona to come to Xbox.
No, man. Altered Beasts. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
That's an extremely old title. Like, what year did it? Yeah, 1988. Sorry, never mind.
Oh wow.
I say I have no idea what that is.
It was like
Wow.
one of Sega's like earlier games where it was just a side-scrolling beat 'em up, but as you beat up the bigger enemies, like every level you had like a themed like monster or a werebear, a were lion that you could become to fight the big boss at the end, and you slowly became more powerful throughout it. So yeah, no, it was just one of my early Sega Genesis sweethearts.
I wasn't born in 1988, so I
Yeah,
can't
you never played your
speak to
big
that.
brother's console?
I'm
Like, I was
podcasting with
born in
children.
1990.
I'm the big brother.
I was born in 2001, so I'm
He's an
the
actual
youngest.
child. He's an actual child. I'm 27.
Jesus.
I'm 27. All right. I'm an actual child.
Wait, just 1 month to my 20th, all right? Just 1 month.
That is crazy. Well, you've floored Luke. I don't know how he'll ever recover. But the last rumor is just Xbox is going to acquire 2 additional studios in 2021. One
So
being
go
large,
Bloober.
one being small. I think Bloober might be a good shout for that, just because of their working relationship. But we don't really have any concrete details unless Luke has some info he'd like to share.
Inside information.
I'm thinking they're gonna buy it. There's Sony Publishing put out a game called God of War. I think they're gonna buy them. They really want to have a God of War 2 exclusive to them. That's their plan.
That's so
I don't know,
funny.
Jack.
That's hilarious. Because Amon said the exact same thing when we did a predictions video, like one of our first episodes. He's like, I think they're gonna buy Sony.
I remember that now.
Ludicrous. All right, that ends our rumor roundup for the week. We're gonna move into viewer questions just to end the episode. Only 3 viewer questions this week from some of our regulars who keep tweeting at us. The first one comes from Lisa Armstrong, who asks, "What superhero would you get exclusively for Xbox? I assume to rival Spider-Man on PlayStation." Tom, what superhero do you want?
The Flash. I've always thought it would be so sick to have like an actual good Flash video game. I'm sure it would be hard as hell to develop for since he moves really fast, but I think something like that would be freaking fantastic.
Have there ever been a
Yeah,
Flash?
that would be awesome.
I don't know for sure. I know he's been in some of the DC games, but I don't know if he's had his own Flash game.
I don't think so, yeah.
Well, Amon.
I have 2. I would say either Batman or Deadpool.
Deadpool. Deadpool's
Yeah,
last video.
I think
game
Deadpool would be.
well.
Sorry?
Deadpool's last video game didn't do so well.
Well, I actually enjoyed that game. That's one of the reasons I said Deadpool. I actually have fun with that game. So I think if Microsoft, acquire the IP somehow, that would be a cool thing to try out.
Garrett, what superhero?
Ghost Rider featuring Nicolas Cage. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, get out of here.
I would have to say, like, I would like a more grittier one, just because, like, it always seems like the superhero ones are just very scripted, always do the same thing. So I wouldn't mind like an in-depth Punisher one, or let's say Spawn.
That's a good one. Punisher. I would like that.
Yeah, like I'm thinking Spawn with like an open world thing, sort of like a prototype. You guys remember that game that came out for Xbox? That would be sweet.
Some interesting picks right there. How about you, Luke?
I've thought a lot about this question, actually, because I was very sad when Spider-Man went exclusive to Sony. I actually am not a fan of any major brand like that becoming exclusive, because Spider-Man, I think, belongs to everybody. The same with Batman. Oftentimes, Arkham Knight is my favorite game of last generation. And people often ask, would you want Batman to be exclusive on Xbox? No. I want as many people possible playing those games because they're just awesome. if I wanted to, if my logic was to counter the Spider-Man exclusivity or whatnot, there are two that jump to mind realistically. The first is Wolverine, with the game being very R-rated, similar to X-Men Origins Wolverine, which was a very good game. And brutally violent, and had some really cool effects where like he would take damage and his skin would shed off and you would watch him heal on screen.
Yep.
A more fleshed out, no pun intended, version of that would be really neat to see. But I think the character that would do the most for the brand and also is something we've never seen before would be Black Panther. I think Black Panther is a character who is really coming to his own thanks to the MCU. I thought he was a neat enough character, but kind of B tier, C tier in the Marvel universe prior to the MCU. And you could argue that for the entire group of the Avengers, truth be told, at the time of that they came into their own fruition. But to see a Wakanda that is ripe with technologies and abilities that could be augmented by vibranium would be really cool. Knowing what Chadwick Boseman did with the character to make him relevant to so many people, whereas I would venture to say prior to Captain America Civil War, people weren't really familiar with Black Panther beyond the fact that he was a black superhero and that he was from Africa. And now we have this incredible rich history that's getting explored. And I really dig that. I think it's and to go social commentary, we need more heroes of color, and they need to be on display for our young people to see and then not follow the same formula. And Black Panther would be a perfect character to help bridge that gap and really do a lot for the superhero brand and the Xbox brand if they treated it similar to the way Arkham and Marvel Spider-Man on the Sony side get treated. And it's not just a throwaway quick fix game. I would love to see that. So those are my two answers. And ironically, coincidentally, Wolverine's Berserker stuff looks like an X, and Wakanda Forever looks like an X. So that's kind of neat, just an accidental thing I thought about there.
No, I agree. Black Panther is certainly a pick I think makes a lot of sense, especially with the social commentary. Miles Morales was being praised for the social commentary that game has had, the impact that has had on the minority community. Chadwick Boseman, his passing obviously might make any Black Panther game a little difficult to get. I know that he was going to be in the Avengers game as DLC, but they've kind of pushed those plans back. So certainly wouldn't be anytime soon if that was a discussion that was going to happen. My pick is another superhero that the MCU brought to the forefront of people's popularity lists. He's been my favorite superhero since I was a kid, and that's Iron Man. Obviously, he has a VR game on PlayStation, which I don't think did that well. It's all right from what I've heard. No.
It was decent, but it didn't sell well.
Yeah. So I would just like Iron Man for personally me. I also think, despite the way he's portrayed in the MCU, which is, Robert Downey Jr., everyone loves him. So if you could get some sort of, even if you made him look like him, I think that's where the Avengers went wrong. Don't make some offshoot MCU characters. Just give us what we want. We know what Iron Man looks like in our brain, and it's Robert Downey Jr. I think that there's a lot of story the MCU did not tell about Iron Man before Endgame, and I don't know if we'll ever get to see the story. And I'd love a game that would tackle that in a more deep manner. Put me in the role of Iron Man. So that's my pick. She also wrote in with another question, and this one's it's either or. Would you rather Obsidian drop making the Outer Worlds, presumably DLC and a sequel, and take care of Fallout, presumably New Vegas, or continue working on the Outer Worlds and make a new spin-off Fallout game? So stop Outer Worlds, New Vegas, or keep Outer Worlds, different Fallout.
Don't stop Outer Worlds. I loved Outer Worlds. They don't need to stop that. That game was great. One of my favorite games of last gen. I think more IP, the more IP, the better. I would like them to make a Fallout spin-off game similar to what they did with New Vegas. maybe New York or something. Yeah, I would like that.
I don't know, man. I was actually thinking, what about a Fallout New Orleans with like the swampy areas and whatnot? You could have like floods coming
New
in and out because
Miami.
hurricanes.
Is
Yeah,
Fallout New Miami. Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
but
Or
like
they could just go
we
halfway
still
across the
got
world
like
and be like Fallout New Australia.
Fallout New Zealand. Whew.
Luke, you are raising your hand. Obviously, that means in teacher speak, you want to speak. So
I do not want the Outer Worlds to even bother with Fallout. I'm sorry, the Outer Worlds, Obsidian. I think that the studio should be fair to make the games they want to make and not be pigeonholed into making somebody else's property. Obsidian has done a great job at distinguishing themselves from that Fallout New Vegas and KOTOR history. And they've now got their own IPs that they're working on. And I think it would actually, cause dissension within the ranks if they were to start making another studio's game that studio now belongs under the same umbrella. And it's not as petty as that in the business world. It comes down to money, dollars and cents, and a lot of people aren't the same people. But it does matter, and the news articles that get written about that will constantly be Obsidian making Bethesda's Fallout, or this studio making that studio's game. And that's not healthy. Tim Schafer even spoke to this with Ryan McCaffrey recently when he was talking about Psychonauts 2. Like, do you want to make a Banjo-Kazooie game? And he said, no, Rare should do that. I don't want to do that. I want to make my own games. And that, to me, was very encouraging because it suggests that no one is knocking on Tim Schafer's door saying, hey, you've made a bunch of remasters in Psychonauts 2. Go make this game and do this new game. He can just make whatever he wants. And I want that spirit to be within the Xbox Game Studios mantra, with the small exceptions of 343 and the Coalition, which were specifically created for their Gears and Halo purposes.
I don't know, man. I would like to counter that because like Fallout, it was Obsidian's game. It would be like giving George Lucas back Star Wars.
Don't do that. He made the prequels.
Yeah, but he also made the originals. He had a bad phase. It goes through us all, okay? But like, I don't know. I think like it doesn't need to be a full over thing, but just enough to let Obsidian get there, or not get, but let them retouch on their own universe. I think it could be very nostalgic. Because New Vegas, it definitely, you could see the difference in the creative visions, even though it was basically the same game as Fallout 3 regarding guns and character models and whatnot. But you could see with quest lineup how with Obsidian, not everything was always the most open. You actually had to look around and think for yourself in a way, right? So I don't know. I think it would be interesting to have Obsidian go back and do a Fallout. But like you said, they should not be forced. They should be allowed their own creative thing. So yeah, that was my interjection.
Tom.
George Lucas also made Kingdom and the Crystal Skull.
I'm good with Bethesda just managing Fallout. I think Obsidian has a lot of IPs they're working on right now. Let them focus on those.
Hot take. I don't care about either of these franchises. I don't like you. I don't
Yeah,
like
man.
Fallout. I don't
You
like
need to
that.
stop with these hot takes, man.
Fallout is. I love Bethesda RPGs, literally, except Fallout. Garrett, I don't like it.
There's other people here. You don't have to speak just to me, but it is a beautiful game. Just like Sea of Thieves, I'll take you over to that side as well.
We'll find out. Our next questions come from Amazo, formerly known as Redacted on Twitter. He asks, after Halo Infinite, would you like 343 to make a spin-off title in the Halo universe? I'm going to answer it pretty quick. No, I won't. They have enough trouble making mainline Halo games. I don't think they need to struggle to make a spin-off Halo game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They just need to focus on Halo Infinite right now. Nothing else.
Yeah,
That's it.
with it
343
supposedly.
made
Yeah, go ahead.
the best Halo campaign with Halo 4 and the best multiplayer with Halo 5. And there is no way around that, guys. They don't age well, but Halo 5's multiplayer is unrivaled. The story was terrible.
I agree with
And
that.
Halo 4, if you've not gone back to it, is an incredibly stunning game for the Xbox 360 that upscales beautifully, and the campaign is wonderful. Best weapons, the enemies, they're not as boring as they are in 5, but it's a healthy mix of enemy types. I think 343 is very capable, but to Amon's point, they 100% need to focus on Infinite. I'd love to see somebody else tackling spin-offs, not just like Halo Wars, because Halo Wars 2 is wonderful. But imagine using the Slipspace engine in Halo Infinite, but you are playing as a Black Ops ODST member. I have way too many Halo novels over on my shelf behind me that involve all types of spec ops teams for Oni and whatnot. One called Ferret Team, which you could have an incredible Hivebusters-esque type story. I would love something set within that universe, the platform of Halo, just with the engine and mechanics. So it's not necessarily a new game, but it's a new campaign. But to Amon's point again, they should not be focused on anything except for that Infinite experience, and then somebody else can go and play in that world with them. I'll fight to the death on Halo 4.
I agree with Luke's take there.
Tom.
Definitely not necessarily just a side game, but within itself, within what they already constructed with Halo Infinite, they can do what they did with ODST and it can work. Especially if they want to keep updating this game a couple years down the line. They said it wanted to be a 10-year experience, whatever they said it was. So they can easily just, shoehorn more in campaigns in there. We saw like Hivebusters, like Luke also said, which did a fantastic job if you guys haven't played it yet.
I was just gonna say Hivebusters. That's a story DLC that isn't tied to the main story, but that is getting critically great reviews. Garrett, did you already go?
Tom actually took the words out of my mouth. Just with the 10-year cycle, they should only be focusing on Infinite. But everybody else has covered it more or less. That's sort of the crime of being last. But yeah, that's it.
I mean, I agree with Luke on the multiplayer of Halo 5. I cannot. The Halo 4 campaign, I struggled to get through that. I won't. Every other point you made is good, but I cannot ever say that, because that is bottom of my list for campaigns in terms of story.
Are you kidding me? You go
kidding.
back to that first Halo.
I think you're getting 4 and 5 diluted because Luke's.
You don't know what to do.
You rank it even lower than Halo 5?
Campaign? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I like
Really?
Halo 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That one at least had Master Chief like the entire way through. It's a way better game than Halo 5.
I think he's just stirring the pot just because he can at this point.
I don't know about that. Listen, two is my personal pick for number 1.
It's not a 2's great, but
I agree.
Reach and 4.
2's my number 1 pick as well.
Yeah, okay.
Reach and 4 are interchangeable on the top.
The top.
Yeah,
Also,
Reach
Reach,
is
yes.
the
I
top.
enjoyed Reach as well. But Halo 4 was good, but Halo 5 was really bad.
Ooh. Okay.
The weirdest part about Halo 5 is that mechanically, it's superior to all of them, and it's still not fun to play. That's the funniest thing about it. That's what tells you how much story and environment matter. Because mechanically speaking and technically speaking, you can scramble ledges, the guns and everything look great, and there's a lot of really cool mechanics. It's just not fun. There's a magic that's missing that the other games, I think, capture.
If 343 just do what they did with Halo 4 and Halo 5 and just combine that, I think that Halo Infinite's going to be fine. Campaign of Halo 4 and multiplayer of Halo 5, I think it's going to be fine.
I mean, my personal hot take for the Halo franchise is Halo 3 is the worst multiplayer. I hate Halo 3 multiplayer. And everyone loves that multiplayer, and I don't get it. But listen, guys, I'm not saying 5 is good. I'm just saying it's like second from the bottom, and the bottom is where 4 goes. All right, so we're gonna stomp that down there.
Just had to go back and put some more salt on it, eh?
Mm.
Jesus.
Okay. The next half of his question was, would you like Xbox to add an intro to all Xbox exclusives on Game Pass saying Xbox originals like Netflix does? They kind of do that already with Xbox Game Studios,
Yeah.
so I don't really get the question.
Yeah, that's pointless.
I don't know. Maybe he
But
means
it
like
would be
a
cool if,
commercial at the
like,
front of
how the
that would be
Netflix,
annoying.
as soon as you watching a Netflix original show, it just says Xbox original, it just says, that would be pretty cool.
I think a better comparison would be like, would you like a scrolling image like they have for the MCU or what Sony just did, like for their PlayStation studios? It kind of gives you like a rundown of like a bunch of PlayStation games. Do we want that for Xbox? Like, that'd be cool, but I don't really care. It's a logo. With quick resume, I never see logos anyway, so
I just want to jump into the game. I don't care.
People have the weirdest takes for what they want to see. Last question, and then we'll wrap up the podcast. The pop culture era asks, would you rather bring back Knights of the Old Republic or Jade Empire?
KOTOR for sure.
Luke, I'm going to give this one to you.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Anything Star Wars. Yeah, Knights of the Old Republic. Easy.
Yeah,
I would like
Jade
Jade Empire,
is
but
also
Knights of the
something
Old
special.
Republic.
Tom, go before I.
Definitely Knights of the Old Republic. The game is just, it was so above like from its time, and it gives you like, it was the first RPG I've ever played that allowed me to choose like be a bad guy or be a good guy. And then Fable, I followed that along later on, and I really love Knights of the Old Republic, and Star Wars is freaking like the best universe period in movies and video games. Like, just more of that, please.
Yes, I agree with you, Tom. 100%.
Jade Empire.
Now comes Kevin's hot take.
Listen, maybe it's just because the only Star Wars games I've actually liked were the original Battlefront games on the original Xbox. But I would rather have Jade Empire.
This man just disrespected Jedi Fallen Order, Rogue Squadron,
I haven't played Fallen Order yet. I haven't played Fallen Order yet, so that could be one that changes my mind.
Battlefront 2 now is really good. That multiplayer was dope. They really did. They fixed it, which was just, I'm shocked how much they fixed it.
Yeah,
I'm so offended by your.
I wasn't a big fan of the new Battlefront games, but Rogue Squadron and Knights of the Jedi Fallen Order, definitely, I enjoyed those two.
Well, we're gonna end.
You can stay, Amon. I'm the guest.
We're gonna end this episode of Kevin's Hot Xbox Takes by saying thank you, everyone. Once again, subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out Luke and the Xbox Expansion Pass podcast, and I will let everyone sign off. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheMuffinMon. Tom, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at ChronicleTom.
Mon?
You can find me on Twitter at AmonM05, and that's also my gamer tag. So if you ever want to play, just hit me up.
Garrett?
Gamertag and Twitter are both WayWarnG. Feel free to compete with me in the gamer score, but this month, right now, you would definitely be competing with Amon. Last month, though, I smoked everybody. So proud of that.
And Luke, one last shout out. Again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Well, thank you for having me, man. I really, really enjoyed hanging out with you guys today. It was awesome. You can find me on Twitter and on Xbox Live and PSN at Insipid Ghost. And the Xbox Expansion Pass is available on all your podcast services and now YouTube as well. And so if you search those, I'm sure they will pop up for you. And it would mean the world if you guys took a moment and check that show out. Thanks.
Second, again, thank you, everyone, and look forward to the new content. Bye.
Bye.